Hello everyone, my name is Evandro, I'm from Clurb, and I'll present you the tool called Action on Disaster Risk Management for Cities, because we know and we've seen that the number and the impact of disasters is of course increasing every year, and the impact is where it hit the hardest is of course the most vulnerable cities and communities. Now imagine you yourself in charge of tackling disasters in your city or my hometown back in countryside Brazil, and you have to perform quite a few different activities. You have of course to map the different risk areas, as we've already seen. Of course you have to deploy action whenever something really happens, and of course you have to remain in contact with the population overall. And the options that you have today, or basically the only option for 99% of the cities, is that you use whatever you have available at hand. And that means social media, paper, and all of these kind of things that allow you to get somewhere, but is very limited. No, and only 1% have the luxury to really use very robust tools or even to hire someone to do it. So what we do with Action is that we simplify the most robust and sophisticated tools, but we borrow the flexibility and usability of the most simple tools. No, and with that, with Action, we really have the mission to allow every single city in the planet, even if they don't have a lot of resources to prepare for, to respond to, and to recover from disasters in a very cheap, quick, and effective manner. And that you can do this via a web-based platform that is basically used by the cities themselves to manage the data, and the mobile app that is used by the response teams, but especially to keep the communication in both ways with the population overall. And of course, with the main objective to reduce the loss of lives and properties, but also keeping the engagement with the population at all times. We have already applied the tool, implemented in quite some of the most challenging environmentals worldwide, which means that our approach is actually working. But that's not a big surprise, because our team is very well versed in the topics of disaster risk management, having worked in more than 30 countries worldwide. Our business model is very flexible, because we understand there's a lot of different contexts where we have to work at. So we work mostly with direct sales, but also working indirectly via NGOs and international organizations. But what we want to ensure is that everyone that wants to use the tool has the opportunity to do so. We have won several prizes and also participated in quite a few programs also globally. And now we're looking at continue advancing the different functionalities of the tool, but especially looking for partners to help us get engaged with different cities all across the planet. So disasters are not natural. They are natural events that become disasters because we let them be so. So let's not have the next disaster in your city, so please take action. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let's go with the next one, and it's CleanFiber, and let's welcome Ryan Carroll. Ryan, let's go.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm here representing CleanFiber, which is a cellulose insulation manufacturer based primarily in the US. Right now, cellulose is one of 4 major types in the market. You have foam, you have fiberglass insulation, rock wool, as well as cellulose. Cellulose being the most environmentally friendly of any of those options. And the cellulose industry was at risk. A lot of it used newsprint, recycled newsprint, right? We all know how widely read the newspaper is nowadays, given the decline and given the ability where sourcing material becomes more difficult. So with that said, we took it upon ourselves to take a look at how we could do it differently and how we could be disruptive, because it is a market that's growing based on tightening building codes, the focus on energy efficiencies, and also new awareness around VOCs. So one example of why cellulose is a better product is it kind of creates a dense blanket. So it could be dense packed into spaces, or it can be layered in an attic. Basically, it fills every gap in your home to stop airflow. So it's significantly more effective than some of the other types of insulation on the market. The disruptive technology we brought that I mentioned just a bit ago is basically competitors using a dry process with newsprint. What we've developed is the ability to take recycled cardboard, which can only be recycled 3 to 5 times to make boxes or to have strength. And we've taken that, applied a wet patented technology of fire retardant that's been embedded in the fibers, and it's then blown into walls. This allows us to use cardboard, which is obviously much more available and a lower cost fiber. So we're solving 3 different challenges within the industry. One is dust. We have a third the dust, which obviously doesn't insulate when you're purchasing it. Contamination, given that other companies are struggling to get paper that's available, they're dealing with a lot of contamination in that. And again, I already talked about the availability piece as well. So we have a proven product. It is in the market. We just sold our millionth bag about 2 months back. So it is becoming readily available. We had 2.4x growth in 21 into 22. In the first 4 months of 23, we had another 2.4x growth. And we're slated to have another 2x in growth by the end of this year. So we are scaling rapidly. We do have about a $100 million pipeline that's built out right now in the US. So the funding that we're looking to raise, we're a late Series B. The funding that we're looking to raise is going to be going towards plant expansion, with ideally 6 to 8 plants across the US and potentially a few global locations as well within the next 5 years. So we're tackling it from 3 different ways for carbon emissions and from an environmental standpoint. One, better insulation of homes. The second is reducing the energy content that's used to produce the insulation. Cellulose is the lowest energy usage to produce the insulation. And then we're also averting cardboard from going into a landfill where it has 47 times the carbon emission of paper in that landfill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Next one to come is Netcarbon. Let's welcome Basile Goussard. Basile, your turn.
Hi everyone, and I'm extremely pleased to be here today to present Netcarbon. As we all know, we have to act. We have to reduce our CO2 emission, and we have to increase carbon capture. Carbon capture is the capacity of plants to absorb CO2 and it store it in the plant and in the soil. By using both, we will altogether meet carbon neutrality. But one of the big questions is, do you know how many carbon is stored directly with this plant? Or do you know how many carbon is stored with all these trees? And a more tricky one, do you know how many carbon is stored in Paris? We have an issue here. The main issue is that, we have an issue here is that we don't know how many carbon is stored and we don't know how to measure it. That's why we have created Netcarbon. Netcarbon is a way to measure CO2 sequestration based on satellite data. We are using this satellite data to be able to monitor vegetation everywhere in the world. And to be sure that our result is matching the reality, we are using sensors to capture and to verify our output. This technology is supported by our partners. We are working with the European Space Agency, with the CNES, INRAE, and Google, in order to build the carbon intelligence to be able, at the end, for every city to measure and improve their capacity to store CO2 at scale. This is possible thanks to a lot of different products, 2 different products, thanks to our platform. So you are able directly to connect to this platform and to be able to see and monitor the carbon sequestration, to simulate projects in order to increase and improve yourself, and at the end to track the project that you have built in the past. It's also possible to directly retrieve data in order to be able to push it in some different software that are well known like ArcGIS and QGIS. The main idea is to propose this solution to everyone and to help every city to monitor and increase their carbon sequestration, because we need this. This is possible thanks to a team and to our scientific board that I want to thank here. Thank you very much. I'm the CTO of Netcarbon, Basile Goussard, and I'm looking forward to deploy this solution for a lot of different cities and looking for some funds. Thanks.
Thank you very much. You can go over there. Wonderful. And the last one is IMMOBLADE, and it's Patrick Kayak who's going to present his project to you. Please give a round of applause for him.
Hello everyone. Nice being here. So at IMMOBLADE we want to reduce the carbon footprint of building, and we do that through innovative energy efficiency glazing. So when you think about energy efficiency for buildings, you might think about this, the solar panels on the roof. It's nice solutions, very interesting. Nothing is worth laying away, but it might not be enough. So the oldest solar panels are those, the glazing. They're very efficient in the winter, so you can get a lot of free energy from sunbeams, but it can be tricky to manage in the summer. So if you compare a photovoltaic panel, you've got a 20% yield along the year, roughly, and if you compare it to windows or normal glazing, you've got about 70% yield. So with IMMOBLADE, we want to combine the best of both, actually. We want to have something which is easily fittable on the building, which works all year round. And this is this. So we saw energy efficiency glazing. The idea is that we've got a normal double glazing. Within, we've got a miniaturized solar protection system. It's fixed. What we do is that we calculate the sun trajectory, which is different from seasons to seasons. And from that, we derive the best and the optimal angle for different blades to either let the sun beam through in the winter or to block the sun in the summer. So the aim is really to reduce the energy use all year long with a system which is easy to fit on a building, and which has the same installation process as a normal double glazing. So we've got a very low carbon footprint because we don't use so much material. We've got a return on carbon investment in 4 months. So it means that in 4 months, with the energy saving, we cover the emission of our production. So this project is Terrell 8. So we are already selling it on the market. It's already installed in major projects. This one is the Architecture School of Montpellier in southern France. We've got a good market readiness. We're recognized by key players of the market. And our challenge is really to industrialize, to lower production costs, and to be able to reach new segments. We believe this market has a very, very large potential, and we want to address it. So this is it in a nutshell. So you've got a product which is very efficient for building efficiency. It will help us to tackle the next challenge, and I'm glad to welcome your questions.
Thank you. Indeed, it's time for Q&A. All the pitchers can join us on stage. Clurb, CleanFiber, Netcarbon, and IMMOBLADE are gathered for your questions, dear jury. We have 6 minutes, and please make sure that every pitcher gets a question.
Question for Netcarbon.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of the carbon that we're talking about in natural systems is underground in the form of underground networks, mycorrhizal fungi, and soil. So how is your solution measuring soil organic carbon in particular?
So that's because mainly the sensor that we are using is not directly measuring the carbon within the soil or the carbon within the biomass. What we are using is a tower which is measuring all the exchange between the atmosphere and the ecosystem. So actually the name is Net Ecosystem Exchange. So that's the carbon which is stored by the ecosystem, so the biomass and the soil.
Thank you very much.
I have a question for IMMOBLADE. It looks very nice. It seems expensive. What's the long-term cost or benefit?
So currently we are as expensive as external shades, so which is the technology which has the same energy efficiency as ours, but they tend to break down. And so our objective is to reduce our price by at least 30%.
Thank you.
Hey, I've got a question for Evandro at Clurb. I'd love to know a little bit about the business model, because I guess the challenge is you sell your solution to someone in San Francisco. They hopefully don't have an earthquake for 10 years. The person who bought it from you has probably got a new job by then. How do you make sure you stay top of mind? People keep paying your contract every month. How does that work?
Yes, no, that's a very important question. Thank you for that. The first entry point to resolve that problem is that who decides what a disaster and what is an event that is worth mentioning or using the platform for are the cities and the communities themselves. No, and they generally tend to choose something that happens, I wouldn't say like on a daily basis, but frequently enough so that makes them themselves interested in the platform. No, so since the very beginning of the implementation, they are a very active part of the application of the tool. And since they take part of that process, the tool then tends to be much more utilized, other than we just decide what is a disaster for them. And of course, if it's an earthquake, it wouldn't happen in many years.
Great, thank you.
I have a question for CleanFiber. So it looks very exciting, your growth trajectory. You're growing very fast, and that's great. I'm wondering, what are the barriers for entry for competitors that would like to do the same? And the second question at the same time is, do you plan to grow to Europe, and what do you need to grow to Europe?
Yeah, great question. So first and foremost, the barrier to entry, it's a technology that's been looked at by several companies for a number of years. Ultimately, it was an issue around the fire retardancy and cardboard and how you can get those two to mix. Given that we have the patented process to be able to have the liquid fire retardant proprietary blend absorbed into the fibers themselves, that would be very difficult for someone to replicate outside of the patents that we have issued currently on it. There's 19 patents across the CleanFiber portfolio, 5 of which have been accepted, another 14 pending, but those patents are for the US, Canada, and Europe. So in Europe, it would either be, it could be a partnership, it could be a joint venture, it could be funding for a plant here, but certainly it's an option as we look to grow and scale. It's a $500 million market, which should grow into the low billions by 2030. So certainly a lot of opportunity. We'd love to be here sooner than later.
Thank you.
So my question is for Netcarbon as well. You mentioned about, of course, working with the cities and working with the customers. How many customers and cities have you served so far? And also, what is your concrete ask at the end? What is the thing that you need at this time?
So today the product and the platform is already used by different cities, Libourne and Bordeaux. We are a company that is born in Bordeaux, so we are mostly working in our own territory. And one of the things that we ask today is to go abroad and to try something else in different cities. And for that, we need to also increase our capacity in the platform and improve the user experience on the platform. So that's why we are asking some fund. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Also, sorry for you, because all my questions were stolen. Being last is not the best to be here. If you look at the data and the capturing, yeah, I'm an ESA alumni, so there you go, data science scientist. In the urban environment, the accuracy typically is like only 60 to 70% of the data which you will collect. Did you find a solution to get that higher because of the AI? Because otherwise, of course, it's the results you give and the data you perform as output is, of course, questionable.
Yeah, that's why we are working with the research laboratory, and we have not developed alone the algorithm. We have developed it with the Darkness and the INRIA. One of the issues that we faced on this topic is, as you said, the lack of accuracy, and we put some different sensors, and moreover, we are using some combination of satellite data. We are using open data like Copernicus and Sentinel, but also Pleiad, in order to have very fine and very extreme precision on some different trees at the city level.
Thank you very much for your answers.